Hi Libra, and welcome to your August 2024 horoscope. August has one very prominent and very challenging aspect, which is a square between Jupiter and Saturn. This is a square that all of us are experiencing, Libra, so don't worry, you're not alone. And the square between Jupiter and Saturn happens on August 19th. But even though it's later in the month, let's just get it out of the way. Let's talk about it right away. Jupiter and Saturn are two very interesting planets to have in a square. Jupiter represents hope, optimism. Saturn represents hard work, patience, feeling like you're stuck, feeling like things are taking very long to come to fruition. Whenever we see them in a square, there's some sort of a tension, some sort of a battle between the two feelings. There's some sort of an arm wrestle between the two. And the tension is not something we can ignore. A square is an aspect that cannot be ignored. So you might especially find that sometimes you're feeling the highest highs of Jupiter, and sometimes you're feeling the lowest lows of Saturn. And the contrast is so big, it's so apparent, it's so discouraging or difficult that you have to do something to address it. You cannot just shove it under the carpet and be like, oh, okay, I hope it'll be fine next month. For you, Libra, the square between Saturn and Jupiter is happening in your 6th and 9th house. With Jupiter in your 9th house, you might be feeling very optimistic and hopeful in terms of traveling, in terms of studying, in terms of maybe even getting a new education, signing up for like a new degree. But at the same time, you might be just really struggling with your day-to-day routine. You might really be feeling like perhaps your health is making it difficult for you to really show up well at work. It's making it difficult for you to get your exercise in. Maybe you're finding it quite difficult with your sleep, for example. And there's this tension here. There is this aspiration and hope for exploration, for being exposed to new cultures. And yet you're sort of, bam, taken out of that hope and optimism by perhaps literally feeling a pain in your body, perhaps literally by feeling bad in your muscles because you've been struggling with your exercise and your movement. So there is definitely this contrast between the two that is quite prominent for you during the month of August. Keep in mind that while the square is happening on August 19th, the whole week prior to the 19th is actually quite important. On August 14th, Mars will conjunct Jupiter, and the day after, square Saturn. And this contact with Mars, I really see as the spark that gets the fire going. So on the 14th, when Mars conjuncts Jupiter in your 9th house, you might be taking some courageous and bold action to live your explorative dreams. Maybe you literally sign up for a new educational program. Maybe you do the scary thing and book a trip all alone. However, the day after, Mars squares Saturn. So you take that courageous action, but the outcome is not as desired. Perhaps you book that holiday, but then it ends up being canceled the next day. Perhaps you apply for that education program, and then the next day you hear that you did not get accepted into the program. So there is that block from Saturn, that realism or maybe even pessimism from Saturn. This can have an effect on your feeling of self-confidence, on your feeling or your ability to be able to express your loving nature, on your ability to enjoy life. And the reason I say this is because a couple of days later, on August 18th, Venus, the planet that represents all of these things, ends up opposing Saturn as well. Venus is opposing Saturn from your 12th house. So you might especially feel like, okay, if I cannot explore, then maybe at least I can enjoy my time alone, enjoy my time exploring my inner world. But again, Saturn is right there to oppose Venus, to put a bit of a damper or a stop on it. And as a result, you might still find it quite difficult to enjoy those alone times. You might find that those perhaps negative feelings from the failed courageous action earlier affect you. You're thinking about them. You feel upset about them or sad about them. And then finally, on August 19th, we have that square between Jupiter and Saturn. So you can see how that whole week is sort of unwrapping and unveiling a build-up towards that square. If you didn't think it would get any worse, the square between Jupiter and Saturn actually happens during a full moon. When I saw this, I was amazed. I was like, wow, this is really going to be a powerful day. Not only do we have the tension between Jupiter and Saturn, we have the tension between the sun and the moon as well. So the moon is in Aquarius, it's in your 5th house, and the sun is in Leo in your 11th. This square between Jupiter and Saturn, this tension between wanting to explore, to study, to travel, and yet feeling quite stuck and rooted and like you need to put a lot of work into just your day-to-day routine, is perhaps making you feel a bit of an outcast, is making you feel misunderstood, is making you feel apart from the rest of the group. While everybody else is out there traveling and having amazing time and sharing their delicious meals that they're trying out, you are in a way forced or in a way required to try and find pleasures in your very perhaps boring, very used to, very known life that you have for yourself. You are finding comfort in pleasures such as cooking a homemade meal, pleasures of playing a board game, playing cards with a friend, things that we might not think are very glamorous or very special. They're the simple pleasures. But that might make you feel like an outcast. It might make you feel different from those around you. And honestly, all of the signs are going to feel like outcasts during this square of Jupiter and Saturn, during this full moon. We're all going to feel like outcasts in different ways, in different areas of our life. And this is the piece of advice that I'm giving to all of the zodiac signs. Reach out to somebody you trust. Share your struggles. You might find that they also are struggling with something during this square. And hopefully with that meaningful connection, with sharing each other's struggles, you're able to feel a little bit less like an outcast. There are 2 more challenging aspects to talk about in the month of August, and they both have to do with the planet Venus. So earlier in the month, we have Venus squaring Uranus, and at the end of the month, Venus is opposing Neptune. And all of these challenging aspects with Venus, to me at least, highlight that we're all struggling with finding the loving nature of ourselves during this month of August. We are finding it hard to find pleasure during August. We're finding it difficult to just enjoy August. We're finding it difficult to love ourselves, to feel confident and good within ourselves as well. So earlier in the month, when Venus squares Uranus, Uranus is in your 8th house. So there might be some sudden change coming from your meaningful romantic relationships that, again, make it difficult for you to enjoy August. And then at the end of the month, when Venus opposes Neptune, it opposes Neptune in your 6th house. So again, you might feel like you are letting go of some dreams around what constitutes good health, what constitutes a good routine. You have learned a lot from that Jupiter and Saturn square. And at the end of the month, you have realized some of the things I believed about routine and health are no longer true. And I need to drop away some of those. But this sort of need to, or even just this realization that some of the ideals you had were unrealistic or were wrong, can again have an impact on how much you enjoy August, on how much you enjoy the end of the month, on impact on your own self-confidence and love for yourself as well. I did save the best for last, or at least I saved the most positive transit or aspect in August for last. So I hope we can finish off on this positive note. So Libra, we have a new moon in August, on August 4th to be exact. And this is a new moon in Leo happening in your 11th house. So you might feel that at the beginning of the month, you're thinking quite a lot about your future goals, where you're going, what social causes you want to contribute to, the big influence you want to leave behind on society once you're no longer on Earth. You might actually be getting quite a lot of recognition. You have Leo in your 11th house. So you might already find that you are contributing meaningfully in that way. So this could be very positive energy to start off the month, and honestly, enjoy it. We all need a boost of energy before the craziness coming up later in the month. Keep in mind, though, that during this new moon, Mars and Jupiter are in the sign of Gemini, which can mean that it's easier to overextend yourself. It's easier to overdo it, to overplan things, to extend yourself in too many directions as well. But honestly, enjoy the new moon. I think it's going to be a really nice, calm, gentle new moon before the storm. So Libra, I hope this horoscope helps provide some clarity and some comfort for the month ahead. Please, please remember that all of these transits are temporary. So no matter how much of a struggle you might be feeling, that this will pass and we will have more wonderful months ahead. I hope that you can find at least some time to return to yourself and to reflect on what's happening as well. And if you need any extra support, don't forget you can win a free reading if you press subscribe. When we reach 1,000 subscribers, I give a free reading to one of you. And perhaps in August, this free reading could come to be very useful and very comforting. So yeah, make sure you press subscribe. Thank you, Libra. I hope you enjoyed this horoscope. I hope you enjoy August. I hope that's possible for you. And I hope to see you again soon.